Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Smith. I am the COO of Recharge and Hoko CrossFit out here in Ellicott City, Maryland. And I am lead faculty with Mitch Babcock and Zach Long for the Institute of Clinical Excellence Fitness Athlete Division. I teach the online course of the clinical management of the fitness athletes and the live course as well with Mitch. So really excited to talk to you guys today about strength training and the growth mindset, and how we as clinicians can develop a growth mindset in both our patients and clients and whoever we're working with, why that's important and why it's absolutely necessary in terms of their lifestyle, looking at movement and exercise, etc. So jumping into it, as clinicians, we approach strength training in this way, in the very prototypical way of people get a certain amount of sets and reps, they get a certain weights, and then they build on that, etc., etc. So what you're seeing as a clinician, you're believing is their effort, right? They're doing 3 sets of 10, they're getting that, etc. They're moving on and on. I think it's a very bland way to look at what strength training can be for that person in front of them. Aside from the fact that you're not just giving them cookie cutter exercises, you want to use that opportunity and time you have with somebody, which in our defense as physical therapists is often way more than any other medical professional, right? To affect how they view movement of their body, the empowerment of moving their body, and how they start to develop a lifestyle of exercise overall for themselves and a lifestyle of nutritious movement. That's your true undertaking for the majority of people you're working with. Yes, to get them out of pain. Yes, to help them increase functional activity. But most importantly, if you can help that person take a slight right or left turn where they need to go to really develop a lifestyle out of this, then that's where it goes. And it starts with a growth mindset. And that growth mindset is the idea that you're not just looking for effort out of somebody, you're also helping them learn along the way. It's easy for somebody to put in effort. It's not as easy for them to learn and for you to cultivate that within them. You want them to apply themselves. And oftentimes this is on as you, as a clinician, to cultivate that simply by challenging them in different ways and giving them purpose and context, right? That's why I think, besides the fact of what we know about training load and TheraBand exercises and how it might not be right for the vast majority of patients we're seeing in a outpatient ortho clinic, right? It's also the fact that they're not being challenged, they're not learning, you're not giving them any purpose or context in what they're doing. When you begin to do that, when you begin to circulate that around the idea of a growth mindset, you are driving them into lifestyle changes and behaviors that will sustain them for life. So purpose, context, and challenging them appropriately is the correct way to go. And I'm not saying that you need to do purpose and context in terms of give a biological reason of what's going on. You don't need to bore them. You need to give them purpose and context of how this activity, how this rehabilitation fits into their life and what this means for them and where they can go from here and how they can keep improving. And really driving that point that if you apply yourself and not just make an effort here, that's the difference. And that's done by learning. And so slowly those individuals begin to try new things, they incorporate new things, they develop a relationship with you because they trust you, and all of a sudden they're looking to seek your input for how they're going to be implementing movement and exercise into their life. And that's extremely important on all fronts, right? Is that developing that growth mindset as far as we go from there, right? So aside from that, once you give them purpose, context, and challenge them, it's up to them and for you to give them permission to try new strategies if something isn't working. How important is this idea of growth mindset in individuals with chronic pain? You give them something to do and it doesn't change how they're feeling or it doesn't give them the effect that they want with movement or exercise, and it just goes to the wayside. What if you're able to cultivate that type of progress and growth mindset into them to allow them to try new strategies every time, to get them to think about moving? That's where you need to shift that direction of what you're doing with the exercise. Because if they begin to try something and it doesn't feel right or work for them in terms of their pain, and all of a sudden they get a new strategy, well, perfect. Now they're becoming self-efficacious. They're able to do it on their own. And what do you think is going to happen next when they end up developing some sort of ache of pain, which is inevitable in everybody's life? Well, they're going to try a new strategy. They're going to use the things that you've developed with them because you said, hey, you can develop, I believe in you, you can improve and get better and increase your overall fitness through strength training. And all of a sudden, they're able to handle it on themselves. That's a hugely important issue of them being able to develop new strategies as they go. right? So that's where you're sitting at with the growth mindset from that standpoint. Once you get there and you cultivate that environment of purpose, context, challenging, and get them to focus on trying new challenges and seeking input from you, then you're looking at, okay, what are the long-term benefits of this lifestyle of strength training for them, right? Like, why? Why do we need this exercise? Well, for one, you're thinking of long-term compliance for this, right? You're looking at, all of a sudden, if we involve strength training, we have an ability for them to learn how to set short and long-term goals, develop those tangible type of mindset things that allow them to grow over time, right? Short and long-term goal setting is something that lots of people struggle with, and that's the ability for them to develop over strength training. And also, it just happened to be, maybe they get jacked in the process, maybe they get a little stronger, maybe they see the biological results that they want, the physiological results that they want, but they're also developing that psychological component that allows them to grow as an individual in all aspects of their life. Next, it's allowing them to develop the sense of resiliency and self-efficacy in that they are able to use their body in a way that challenges themselves, right? So we try to cultivate that in the clinic, and then they carry that strength training outside of that, and they continue to do that. Resiliency, we know, is an intangible that we need to start seeing in people when it comes to getting through injuries, getting through chronic pain, getting through all these things. And we can have a huge role in that by developing a strength training program for them or working with them on that end to see these small incremental goals of when they get to a challenge or to an obstacle, such as a lift or a workout, and they overcome that, they build a little bit of resiliency each day, right? You see the folks in CrossFit gyms all over the country approaching this mindset of, I got this, I did that, here's an obstacle, here's how to overcome that. That resiliency done every day, I think, is an underrated value of what effect it has on that person's emotions, on their health over the long term, right? It's huge. It's absolutely essential. RJ puts it best on there, an immunity to adversity, right? If that person is never being challenged, is never getting uncomfortable, right? Well, then they're never going to have the ability to overcome that when it does happen, because it will. So we need to cultivate that in the clinic first and foremost with the growth mindset and establishing that environment. And then the last part of this, when we're talking about the growth mindset and how you're cultivating that, is I think approaching this from a reaction to stress, right? So exercise, what you're doing with them, is stressing the body. It is stress on top of them. You need to relate that to them and make it analogous. And how I approach to a lot of our members here, I say, movement is an expression of yourself, right? And if you can understand your capacity and what you do and what your body does and your expression is when you get stressed, you're going to be able to carry that over from your workouts to your everyday life. And that can be accomplished through strength training and setting up an environment to allow them to become aware of that. So that can mean if they're going through a hard workout in the clinic one day and you see them, really straining their face, they're breathing really heavy, they're all up here, man, it's getting them to become aware of that and be like, hey, this is how you're handling what's going on right now. How can we focus on a breathing cue or something else, or focus on an external cue that drives you away from that type of response and allows you to control the outcome of what's going on here, so you can take this obstacle head on and be, rather, strong-headed with it and be able to get through it. So that's what we're shooting for that one, is be able to understand the reaction to stress, which is also reaction to exercise, can be carried over into other parts of their life, right? Movement is an expression of yourself. And I believe that thoroughly, and I believe it carries over into every aspect of life and can be trained through strength training overall. So why and how do we need to do this? Well, why, first and foremost, is context, long-term compliance, and lifestyle. And the best way to do this and how is to give them analogies like that. So whether it's reaction to stress, whether it's telling people that it's not age that slowly declines what you're able to do, it's this cardboard box that's all around you. And if you quit pushing on the outsides of it and challenging yourself and developing resiliency, that's going to close in on you and limit what you can do on later in life until you can't do something that you thought you always could, right? Most importantly, the foundation of this growth mindset through purpose, context, and challenging them, and then allowing them to develop new strategies and learn along the way, is the idea of learning itself. We are not here to just prescribe exercise. We can get really good at that and help a lot of people get out of pain and get them to feel better and get them functional activity. But ultimately, we are here to get people to learn. We need them to learn how to approach a lifestyle, how to develop strength training, how to get more exercise in their lives. if we're not teaching individuals, if they're not learning from us, then they're just listening. It's going one ear out the other, and they might see an improvement in outcome or not. We need to start looking at it that way, as a clinic that does not just bring people in and out in the conveyor belt, but a clinic that facilitates learning in the individuals that come out, so that way you are a hub that allows your community to grow, both in health literacy and just their overall health and the way they're approaching activity, all of that. You have the ability to educate your community by facilitating learning within the clinic. And that's a really amazing thing that clinics have the ability to do. And it starts with this growth mindset and how you're approaching your patient care from the very get-go. So appreciate you guys' time this morning. Again, movement is an expression of yourself. I love that. Stick that with you. Tweet it if you need to. A quick little run through of the courses coming up. Virtual ICE or VICE registration is open until January 8th, and it's $29.99 for a full year's worth of content, 24 CEUs for finish an entire year too. Our fitness athlete foundations course with me and Mitch starting February 19th just sold out, and the advanced concept course either has one seat left or is sold out. That starts here in January 22nd. So grab that last one for that to go with Zach and Mitch if you can. Our Fitness Athlete Live course is in Windsor, Colorado on February 3rd and 4th, which is going to be awesome because it's in Jeff Moore backyard. So go check that out if you haven't. I know we are filling up those seats really fast. That's approaching. APHPT and Modern Management of the Older Adult next courses are both sold out. Next chance to catch those are March 26th and April 7th. And then Persistent Pain Management starts February 12th, but I believe that's also sold out. So if you can't tell, it's been an awesome last couple months for us. All our courses are filling out quicker than we ever can, and we're looking to deliver the next level of these on, so we'll have to get through these next courses of the online, usually around mid-April. So our foundations course is starting mid-April, advanced concepts slightly before that, etc. So look for the second round of these. Catch us live in Windsor, Colorado on the 3rd and 4th, and we're really stoked. So again, appreciate you guys' time. Go into today's clinic with a growth mindset and how you're going to cultivate that in the patients you see, and you'll have a much better clinic culture and environment because of it. Thanks, guys.